Hello, welcome to Dungeoneer's Pack, a channel bringing you player-focused discussions and character guides for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Josh, thank you for watching. In this video, I will be going over the new spells introduced in the latest D&D 5th edition book, Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. These new spells represent the idea of Dunamancy, an integral concept to the setting of the mega popular live play show Critical Role. Dunamancy is the magic school of manipulating time and space. If you would like to see my overall thoughts on Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, or information on the new subclasses or subraces, you can click on the icon in the corner or on the links below. With that said, let's get started. On this list of new spells, we will be starting with cantrips, then working our way up to 9th level spells. The first spell is a new cantrip called Sapping Sting. The damage from this is minimal, only being 1d4, which is similar to the Bard's Vicious Mockery cantrip. The main effect of this ability is that the enemy is forced to make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, alongside taking the damage, they fall prone. Sapping Sting is okay. It is a cantrip mainly used to set up the rest of your team to beat down on the target. It can get really nasty if you manage to target a creature in the air that doesn't have the hover ability. It will send them straight to the ground taking fall damage. The only other benefit that the spell has is the potential to cut a creature's movement in half. It is interesting but doesn't overshadow any other cantrip we can take at this level. At level 1, there are 2 Dunamancy spells that can be learned. The first is Gift of Alacrity. Gift of Alacrity gives a creature 1d8 to add to their initiative for 8 hours. This spell is straightforward, not needing concentration, but does require some preparation to get the most use out of it. This spell is best cast on a party member that needs to go first to set up the rest of the team. This spell is safe for DMs to give to their spellcasters, as the limit to this is the spell doesn't scale off the level of the spell slot used to cast it like most other spells. If the caster wants to hit multiple people with this spell, they have to burn through their spell slots. The next spell is Magnify Gravity. This first level spell starts to show the effectiveness of Dunamancy's crowd control capability. At a point of your choice, you make any creature within a 10-foot radius of that point make a Constitution saving throw. Those that fail take 2d8 damage and have their speed cut in half. If they make the save, they take half damage and get to keep on moving. A big thing is if any creature tries to pick up an object that is not being held or worn in that 10-foot radius, they must make a strength DC to try to pick it up or move it. Magnify Gravity is a solid crowd control spell to have on deck if you already have your concentration on another support spell. With a high enough spell save, you can cast this spell on a plot item that your team and the villains are fighting over to protect it from getting out of your grasp. The first level 2 spell is Fortune's Favor. Fortune's Favor is the lucky feat as a spell. It takes a minute to cast, but a creature has the option to roll another d20 when making an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw within a 1-hour time period. As with the lucky feat, they can choose which d20 result they want to take. This is really powerful, and I probably wouldn't want this spell in the game if the lucky feat is still being allowed at the table. Fortune's Favor does have some drawbacks when compared to the lucky feat. It requires some planning because it takes 1 minute to cast and the target has a 1-hour window time to use it. Even with the drawbacks, the amount of uses is beyond what is possible with the lucky feat. The lucky feat only has 3 uses per day, while Fortune's Favor can be used as long as you have spell slots to cast it. The next level 2 spell is Immovable Object. A movable object is a very roleplay dependent spell when in the hands of a creative player will probably create a memorable moment in your game that your players will talk about for years to come. The spell is simple. A movable object fixes an object in place and it can't be moved by a creature unless the spellcaster designates the creature as being able to do so, or if the spellcaster sets a password that the creature knows to suppress the magic. A creature can attempt to move the object if they make a strength check beating your spell DC, but even if they do beat it, they can only move the object 10 feet. A movable object is a solid spell that promotes inventiveness. This spell has the option to turn a single object into something similar to an immovable rod. Need to make a makeshift bridge? Check. Really need to keep that door locked? Check. Need to pin an enemy down? Check. This spell could be a welcome addition to any campaign that shouldn't cause too much chaos. The last new level 2 spell is WRISTPOCKET. This spell allows you to pocket away an item of 5 pounds or less into an extra dimensional space that you can recall at will during the 1 hour you have this spell activated. After that hour, if your object was still in the extra dimensional space, it appears right before your feet. WRISTPOCKET is another spell that offers opportunities for roleplay. While a movable object can keep an object in place, WRISTPOCKET tucks that object away to keep it hidden. In comparison, a movable object can be applied in a variety of ways, while WRISTPOCKET will have one major application: keep the MacGuffin away from the bad guy. WRISTPOCKET is a simple fun spell that isn't game breaking, but also doesn't do much else besides allowing you to play keep away. At level 3, we only get one new spell, and that's Pulse Wave. Pulse Wave is another solid spell that mixes damage with crowd control. This level 3 spell forces anyone within a 30-foot cone, starting from your position, to make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they take 66 force damage, and are pushed or pulled 15 feet in any direction. If they succeed, they take half damage and stay right where they are. Pulse Wave takes the Burning Hand spell, doubles the damage, and adds a nice bit of crowd control on top of it. This is a really solid hybrid spell that even if the crowd control fails, still applies some damage. The thing I like about this spell is how it has the possibility of positioning enemies into a disadvantageous situation. Like with any spell that targets wide areas, positioning is key, so be mindful of your teammates. At level 4 we get a spell that reminds me of abilities from the Mass Effect video game series called Gravity Sinkhole. At a point within 120 feet of us, we create a 20-foot radius sphere. Any creature caught in that sphere must make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they take 5d10 force damage and are pulled in a straight line to the center of the sphere. If they beat the saving throw, they only take half damage and aren't pulled to the center of the sphere. This is easily my favorite spell from the book. Imagine casting this on enemies on a bridge just offset enough to pull them off it. This is yet again another spell that mixes crowd control abilities and damage that really nails the flavor of gravity manipulation. At level 5 we get a variation of counterspell in Temporal Shunt. Temporal Shunt uses our reaction to force a creature to make a wisdom saving throw if they are making an attack roll or casting a spell. If they fail the save, they blink out to another point in time, and on the next turn they reappear where they were, not remembering that we casted the spell and negating their action. Casting this at higher levels allows us to target multiple creatures, but I don't see how useful that will be in combat, as enemies are not able to jointly cast spells or make attacks on the same turn. The use of higher spell slots to target more creatures appears to really be geared towards overcoming challenges that would lead to combat. A group of bandits coming in for an attack together? Taken care of. A group of spellcasters casting a summoning spell to bring in some sort of monster? Disrupted. Temporal Shunt is good when used at its spell level. This can really help protect teammates from an attack or spell that would put them out of the fight, but when casted at higher levels, this could potentially derail any plans a DM may have and will take a DM to really think on their feet if a player springs this on them. At level 6 we get another hybrid crowd control and damage spell called Gravity Fissure. When we cast Gravity Fissure, starting from our position, we create a 5-foot wide, 100-foot long line. Each creature in that line or within 10 feet of the line must make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they all take 8d8 damage, and if they were not already on the line, they are pulled into it. If the creature succeeds, they stay put but still take half damage. At this point, the rest of the damage spells in Dunamancy are variants with more damage and powerful effects. Gravity Fissure has a great 100-foot range, but doesn't do anything different that the lower variants can't do. At level 7 we get Tether Essence. Tether Essence allows us to choose 2 creatures and have them make a Constitution saving throw. If those creatures are within 30 feet of each other, they make that roll with disadvantage. The creatures can also willingly fail the save, and if any of the creatures make the save, the spell fails. If the creatures fail the save, whenever one of them takes damage, the other one also takes the same amount of damage. This also works the same way with healing spells. When using this on our teammates, it probably won't be up for more than 1 or 2 rounds in order to set up another ally to heal. Ultimately, this is great on a pair of enemies you want to take out. An enemy frontliner not letting you get to that spellcaster who is keeping the party down with crowd control? Slap this spell on both of them and focus down the frontliner while the spellcaster's hit points drop. We get 2 new spells at level 8, with the first one being Darkstar. Darkstar is really strong and is one of the better high-level variants for the hybrid crowd control damage spells. We create a sphere with a radius of up to 40 feet to create hindering terrain that is a combination of the darkness and deafness blindness spells with some damage sprinkled on top. Creatures must make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail they take 8d10 while taking half if they succeed. Any creature in this sphere is immune to thunder damage, as they can't hear a thing. What stands out to me is that there are only saves on the damage portion of the spell, but not on any of the status effects. It does share space with powerful spells like Clone, Demiplane, and Feeble Mind, which is something to keep in mind since you will have low-level crowd control spells that you can use more frequently. It's a really solid spell to have in your pocket in these high-level fights. The next level 8 spell is Reality Break. Reality Break allows us to bully someone using the fabric of space-time. We force a target to make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, we roll a d10 and consult the Reality Break effects table. The target succumbs to the dice rolls corresponding effects. They can either be stunned, take straight up damage, move 30 feet to a different space, or be blinded. When compared to Darkstar, the effects are wild, but could be ended or avoided if the creature makes their wisdom save. Do you want a giant ball of death? The level 9 spell Ravenous Void is exactly that. We create a 20-foot radius sphere on a point we see. Objects or creatures starting their turn within 100 feet are pulled to the center, but creatures must make a strength saving throw to avoid being pulled. Any creature entering the sphere or starting their turn there takes 5d10 force damage and are restrained. At level 9, this is the same level as the Whoosh spell, so at this point do we need more combat options when spells in this range are supposed to be able to shape the game? The last spell on this list is Time Ravage, and it's devastating. Time Ravage offers potential roleplay if a player is hit with this. This spell forces a target to make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they take 10d12 necrotic damage, and they are aged to the point where they have a month to live before dying of old age. They get disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws, and their speed is reduced by half. If a player uses this on a villain at this level, the villain will most likely be the main threat and have access to powerful magic to beat this. This spell is better off as a tool for DMs to give to villains to set off a chain of events. What if one of your party members gets hit by this from the campaign's main villain? Now there is a 30-day quest to save them with a wish spell or a 9th level greater restoration. Overall, the Dunamancy spells are flavorful and solid at low to mid levels. The higher end hybrid damage and crowd control spells, while powerful, don't offer much variation in their function compared to their mid tier spells. For DMs, these set of spells are great to add into your campaign, but definitely should be sought after and not slapped onto any spell list. They also make great spells for enemies your players may face. With that said, I want to hear from you. What is your new favorite Dunamancy spell you want to use in your game? Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know when new videos are up. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.